that was quick, but that's what happens when I cut it off from the previous one. Hey, this is Rick, and we're going to look at that Pirate Haven a little bit closer. And I'm going to have Fred Dodge and his Planetary Ranger and his partner Chastity Blake do a little bit of observation on this place. I want to kind of fill in a few more blanks before I make any kind of overt moves or covert moves. So one of the first things, the easiest step to do this, none of their modifiers really apply at this point, because I'm just going to play basically a version of 21 questions in order to see if I get some stuff and what goes from there. And I don't want to just arbitrarily say, yes, this is here, this is there, this is what's there, because to me that's a cheat. I mean, you can do that if just expedite things. This is what you want there to be there, so on and so forth. But I don't know, it just doesn't seem to play out. The best way for me, and I found, is I have what's called a yes, no, or maybe chart. And so basically, without any modifiers, this allows me to answer my questions and in varying levels, right? So we'll get to that. So my first thing is being it's a pirate haven, obviously that means ship traffic has to come and go. So first thing I want my observers to note is there a ship present. And so we're going to roll, and it's a 34, and 34 says maybe. And this is where things get to be a bit frustrating. So 34%. We're going to put a caveat as it, you know, let's say evidence that one might be present, be hidden. All right, there's no plus or minus here, although I can make mod so let me rephrase that. So in order to make sure that we don't just keep pushing down until we get the result we want, there's actually a system set up so it helps mitigate this. So I rolled 34%. 34% says maybe with a -5. So I'm going to say, this means now I am going to roll and I'm going to -5 for my result. So 13 minus 5 is 8, and that is a no with a -%. So no. Now I'm at -30, and I'm going to add the 5 from the previous, so plus -5%. So I'm going to get to a point where my negatives are going to guarantee that I'm not going to get anything. And so my next potential question is stored in a hangar. No, because we know there's no hangar present on the planet or on the colony. We do know there is a storage fab 2, but I don't think that qualifies as a hangar. So hidden, no. That perhaps that one was here recently. And it's a -35. So we'll go ahead and roll. And 63 minus 35, so 33, 28%. That 28% is a no. And then, so we're just going to say that there's no ship present, and there's no evidence of one hiding, and then there's no evidence that was one that was here recently. So my next Ranger question might be, are there any ground vehicles? Are there ground vehicles? And that's just because I want to know. Anything pertinent or not? Probably not. So 06. 06 is no, so the answer would be no. And are there visible guards or security here? And 61. So 61%. And yes, with a +10. So there are some people, whether it's just one or more, that are that have that active look of guards. All right, so I'm going to caveat into it a little bit. Guarding a specific spot, and that's going to be with a +10 as the previous roll, and 4 plus so 4% plus 10 is 14%, which is no. So they're not guarding anything specific. So we do know that yes, there's some visible guards. So there is somebody actively patrolling the area, right? Okay. Let's see. What else might I want to know? Is it good? Is this guard close to Fred's position? Now, see, each time I open a new question, I restart my positive negative modifiers. So we're getting 0 modifiers, and we're going to go 96. So 96% is a yes, or very heavy yes plus 30%. So we're going to bring into a caveat. Close enough to here, plus 30. So 29 plus this plus 29 equals 59%. And 59% is maybe. With a +5. So we have plus 30 plus 5, so it now equals a plus 35%. And can Fred get the drop on him? The guard. All right. 33 plus 35, so now we're at 68. 68% is yes plus 10. Okay, now this means to me the guard's close enough by, far enough from the village, closer enough to Fred and his partner for him to potentially get this guy. Right? But this opens another line of caveat. Is the guard heavily armed? I could have said, is he armed at all? Because, I mean, I'm working on the assumption he's a guard. He's obviously a guard, so he should have a weapon of some sort. Remember, we're now opening a new line of questions. So, 11. No. Negative 20. Okay. So at this point, this stops being an observation and can become an acquisition or a combat in this, if I wish. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to take this guy. We're going to capture this guy so we can interrogate him, which would be a different thing. So we're going to end the observation, and we're going to try to grab him. And to do that, we're going to use our fear attribute which gives Fred a plus 20. Plus, in addition to that, what you don't see in here is Fred has, we got some modifiers we want to throw in here. So let me see if I can find them around. I like these charts. These things make life a little simpler and easier. We don't need movement because we're not going to go into that kind of scenario. Like I said, at some point I'm going to do a battle. I'm going to do a combat. I'm going to walk everybody through that too when we get to it. Random combat. There we go, down. That's the investigation window. I want that if we can capture this guy. And look at some modifiers here. Number of cycles since the event don't apply. Investigator hired. Doesn't apply. Investigator works for the house. It's a plus modifier. It's untried. 0 modifier. Fanatic. Target is unaware of the cell. Dodge is going to get. Fred gets plus 20 from his fear base. Plus 20%. And then the opponent does not know he's being observed. As far as, I mean, I could roll and check that, but I have no reason to believe he does. So that brings us to 25% modifier. Fred is being supported by a team or a squad. In this case, he has Chastity as backup, so that's an additional plus 5. So now we're at plus 30% for success. The target is unaware that he's being, we already tapped that one. The target belongs to an organization and has its support. Well, we don't know that, so we're not in that position. We know he's a guard, but we don't know. You know, we're just going to say he does, but there's nobody there to support him. He's by himself. We'd only determined that we won. What we don't know is if the guy's tried or untried. So based on the house modifier, it's not going to be likely to be higher than that. Minus 50, 47, so this guy's going to be, the guard is tried. Which is plus 0, so there's no modifier there. And so basically we're going to see if we can, if Fred can just snatch him, get the drop on the guy. Can Fred capture guard without combat? Plus 30. So, come on, high numbers. 81. Oh yeah, so 81 plus 30 is not a bad be 81, 111. And so you'd make the argument you can't get higher than 100%, which is true, but there are modifiers and stuff in play that could potentially have reduced that below 100. So if I had chose that the guard was not the only guard, there was others in the vicinity that he could yell and shout for help, that would reduce Fred's modifier by 10, which would have still been 101, even so he still would have been captured. So Fred captures guard. All right. So that's pretty much how that played out in a nutshell. Pretty quick and painless without a whole lot of unnecessary dice rolls in combat. It's just a matter of how it weighed out. It could have went bad, south bad, or quick too. Now, one thing I want to do here is this is cycle 8, and I'm going to look at his ranking. Think of it as experience. So he gains plus 10 for the observation operation, but he also just engaged in what's basically a combat operation or a Oh, there's another term for it. Anyway, he gets a point. He gets 10 points for that, but he also gets 10 points for this other one, and plus a single point for the increase in cycle. So we went up one cycle. So he went from 101 to 122 for his ranking. Now Chastity, on the other hand, she didn't participate directly in the second part, so she gets one for the round or one for the cycle, and then the observation. So she went up to 112, and that's kind of how these things play out. And so far, they were able to take him without drawing a bunch of attention and making a big fuss and engaging in combat, which he still may have taken him in the combat scenario. It's just would have involved another set of rolls and checks, and in my case, a different video as well. And so now what we will be doing in the near future, we'll actually have an interrogation, and we'll try to get some more detailed, even more detailed information about the Haven. And this is, the idea is to get as much as we can before we decide what we're going to act on it. So as part of an investigation, obviously the things that come to mind would be to ask, to find out from the guard if we can get him to cooperate, is who runs the Haven. Is there a head person in charge? Is that head person present? Does ship traffic come in on a regular basis? If it's a pirate, what pirate group are they supporting, or is it just any group of people that can come? Now, this is an independent rogue port as opposed to a base of operations for somebody, because we want to kind of know that stuff. The sooner we know it, the better. Because if I get a pirate ship that shows up in the next cycle, or a pirate raid, I could potentially be tying them together, and vice versa. And if we can do that, these are ways that I can find things to exploit and to assist my own house in growing and acquiring things and enhancing its abilities and so on and so forth. Or it can find itself in a pain with a problem that it has to deal with it. And we want to go down those roads at some point. It also means that potentially yet another set of operations could take place, and say cycle 9. By rights, the observation and acquisition took place, and I could choose to, but I'm going to not do an investigation until the next cycle completed. So when we move to cycle 9, then Fred and Chastity will interrogate the guard and to get more information. And at that point, I can decide whether or not Fred, Dodge, and Chastity are going to take the guard and return to the capital of the planet, report in, and turn the guard over and to go from there, or are they going to try to infiltrate the Shadowport or the Haven to get even more information, or perhaps go talk to the head cheese themselves directly? I don't know that that's a wise thing to do, but it's an option. Are they just going to let the guard go with a friendly warning to let them know that they're on notice that there is now a house not only in the region but on the planet, and they better make some decisions? Like, then I might find that they've abandoned the base altogether and moved, or they might actually, once again, a pirate ship attack might happen, and I might have to figure out if they are connected. Anyway, so that's just kind of how we're going down this rabbit hole in these scenarios. And as I said in the previous video, my ship traffic rolls, I had a merchant ship that's in bad shape show up. I'm going to negotiate the captain to try to purchase it and to get some more information from that particular captain. There was a second merchant ship that arrived, and it didn't have any special cargo caveats according to the event roll, so it's just bringing normal cargo or buying stuff from my exchange, and I would find that out by first things first, of course, is flushing out the ship, deciding exactly what its capacity is, so how much stuff could it have on board, and go from there. And I would also more likely be selling consumables, food, water, air, and fuel to that ship, and making a little bit of a profit off of it. In theory, if I want to go even deeper down the rabbit hole for finances, I can charge a landing fee, and it's going to be very tiny because you can't get away with the chart. By rights, you shouldn't be charging an absorbent amount of money, because then you should be applying modifiers to see if they'll pay it. And if they choose not to pay it, well, then a place like the Shadowport suddenly becomes very viable, because now it's a way for the legitimately less than willing to pay bribery scale landing fees to get around that by landing over here and buying and selling stuff through the back door kind of thing. So there's lots of opportunities, lots of possibilities. We still have yet to see where we go with it and getting things explored and so on and so forth. But hey, you guys have yourself a great weekend. The November's coming to an end, although it may be over with by the time this thing gets posted, and we're coming into the Christmas holidays and things like that. Until next time, you guys have a great weekend. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in the gaming industry or gaming fandom that's